Hello, welcome back to A Course in Miracles in this long-standing video series. And I have, in fact, lost count of the number of videos that we've got here. So whether you're joining me from Enlightened World Network or from my own YouTube channel, welcome. This is lesson 299 in the workbook. Yeah, we're almost on 300 workbook lessons, and there are plenty of other interviews in this video series and other explanatory lessons where I go through, from my own experience, parts of A Course in Miracles that need some particular attention. And these are great videos for beginners and experienced students alike. For example, what is a miracle? What's that all about? Right? What is atonement? What's that all about? Foundational pieces. So they're all here. So wherever you have come from or been directed from, welcome. It's great to have you. Okay, so lesson 299 just kind of spits it all out for us. And what's relevant here, what's directly relevant is the fact that spiritual practice, no matter what form it takes, really involves our getting out of our own way. We're getting out of the way because we stumble over ourselves and we fuck it all up. You could put it that way. Seriously, what we do is we try to interpose our own short-sighted wills for the will of God. I mean, really, that's exactly what we do. We try to dictate the terms of every interaction. Well, we can only dictate and control so much because so much is out of our control. So what happens when we don't get our way, when someone else behaves in a way that we label badly? We suffer. Maybe not necessarily physical suffering, but certainly emotional and mental suffering. It's the mind that suffers frustration or lack or indignation, you name it, when we don't get our little way. So spirituality involves our recognizing and accepting that this is the case and that there is something that we can do about it. We can accept help. We can accept tutelage and teaching and guidance. And this may come in the form of a human teacher for you, and it may come in a non-human element, like the Holy Spirit, who's not a human being. Right? God's not a human being, neither male nor female nor transgender. Right? God's not a human being. So therefore, all of the attempts to put God as an anthropomorphic figure, a man almost always, right? A father figure with a beard throwing thunderbolts from Olympus, striking us down at whim, yes, chastising whom he will and blessing whom he will. Yeah, no. Perfect love does not chastise at all. It knows only itself and extends only itself. So our spiritual practice is, first of all, listening to that idea, right? That's a start, to listen to that idea and then to put it into practice in our daily lives through ideas like the workbook ideas, through a practice of meditation, if that's your thing, or yoga or prayer, or a walk in the woods, a walk on the beach, a hot bubble bath, taking 2 breaths to chill out in the midst of a hectic day of meetings and email and phone calls. Whatever that practice looks like, what we're doing is we're setting aside the ego. However short the time frame is where we set it aside. Doesn't make any difference if it's 1 or 2 breaths, or if it's several days, weeks, months, years. What we're doing is we're saying, okay, the way that I'm scheming and manipulating this isn't leading to constant happiness for me. Therefore, I'm going to get out of my own way. That's germane in the context of lesson 299, because lesson 299 says, eternal holiness abides in me. Eternal holiness abides in me. It's who I am. Happily, it's who you are as well. How do I know that? There's no separation of any kind. You are me. I am you. You know? That idea may be extremely repugnant to us at first. It won't be the last time that you hear it on the spiritual path, no matter what form your spirituality may take. You'll notice I'm using inclusive language, deliberately inclusive language in all of these videos, because A Course in Miracles is not a religion. It is for some people and not for others in the practical sense of workbook exercises, etc. May not be what speaks to you. But what I want you to do is find what speaks to you. A Course in Miracles does not require you to abandon your current practices, whether you follow a traditional religion or something else. Doesn't matter. You can take these ideas and apply them to your situation because they're universal, meaning they apply to each and every one of us, because eternal holiness does abide in you. It's who you are. You are exactly as you were created, period. That idea and the period, which I state deliberately for emphasis, requires this kind of practice, doesn't it? You don't have to adopt A Course in Miracles as the main focus of your spiritual practice. That's something that I've chosen to do, but it's not a requirement that you do that in any way. Nevertheless, the process that we all go through is the same. The getting out of our own way is the same thing. That is what prayer constitutes, right? I mean, it's appealing to our higher self, to God, to Jesus, to the Holy Spirit, to your teacher, your guide or guides, right? It's appealing to a higher version of ourself that knows what's up. Because when we're running around here in the world, we don't. We don't. So step number 1, admit that, right? Step number 2, recognize that there are multiple ways in world spirituality that you can change your mind. You can find a way out, so to speak. We're not really leaving anything. Why? Eternal holiness abides in us. Now, I mention all of this about getting out of our own way today, and it is relevant because the commentary for today's lesson, lesson 299, states, my holiness is far beyond my own ability to understand or know. Sentence number 1 in the very short commentary, my holiness is far beyond my own ability to understand or know. This means that it cannot be grasped and categorized and subcategorized, broken down and chewed up and split up into countless myriad parts by the rational intellectual mind. The mind of duality, concepts, us versus them, me, you, body, nobody. The thinking mind is not capable of grasping who we really are. Now, you can adopt some ideas along the way, such as, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me, for example. Where'd I get that? Oh, yeah, right here. You can adopt ideas such as, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Where'd I get that one? Oh, yeah, right here. You can adopt ideas such as these, and it will help you to practice. It will help you to change your mind. It will help you moment to moment to choose love instead of fear. That's where the action lies, is in direct present moment experience. So what we're doing with spiritual practice is we're, in a sense, paving the way. We're clearing obstacles so that the truth can shine on its own, and we'll recognize it. We'll know it through experience, not through the rational thinking mind. The prayer and the commentary on today's idea goes on to reassure us, as the Course does in several places, that who we are can never be dimmed. This holiness shines always. It has always shone and always will, no matter how much we may be in denial, no matter how deeply we become involved in the values of the ego-driven world, no matter how much we identify with our career path, right, or our relationship, yeah, our gender, no matter our nationality, right, no matter how much we identify with all of these dualistic labels, because they're all dualistic labels, right? If someone's from the United States, they're not from somewhere else. In truth, there isn't nowhere else. There's no where. So it takes for us spiritual practice and familiarization with these ideas for us to drop our defenses. And that's really what's going on too, is we're dropping our defenses here. You may experience a lot of resistance to these ideas, and the workbook says you will. Of course you will, right? We've all been conditioned to think that we're this thing called a body, this thing called a human being, even. How about that? Right? We're conditioned to think that we must act and behave in a certain way in response, reaction to certain apparently external stimuli. Yet on the path, and as we discover here with the study of A Course in Miracles, there is no one out there. Everything that we see is, in fact, symbolic of what's going on in our own mind. If it's beautiful, it's symbolic of love. It's symbolic of our boundlessness as Christ, as our oneness, our holiness, which eternally shines brightly. It abides in you. Yeah. Now, on the other hand, things that we see like strife and warfare, for example, a heated verbal argument, someone cutting you off on the freeway, honking and flipping you off, right? When we see that, it's symbolic of what's going on inside of us. It appears to be going on outside of us, doesn't it? But it's not. There is no one out there. So when we experience these things, it's an opportunity for forgiveness. The symbol here of someone cutting you off on the freeway is your own unconscious guilt, your own fear. The appropriate response, forgiveness. This bears repeating, and I've said this on several different videos, and well, I'll say it again because any spiritual teacher repeats him or herself all the time. I mean, it's just kind of, sorry, right? It's just kind of, not sorry, the way it is. Why? Because we're adult learners, and we all have to own up to the stubbornness of being adults and needing to hear things dozens of different ways through dozens of different people, if need be. Really, how many spiritual teachers have you studied with in your lifetime? For most of you, that might be a lot more than one. That's perfectly okay. It's totally understandable, isn't it? Because as adult learners, we need to hear things so many different ways before we start to apply it. Once we start to apply it, then that's where we make what we call progress on the path. It's really not a progress because we're not going anywhere, are we? We're just laying all of the drama aside, a little bit at a time, if that's what is necessary for you, a lot at a time, if you can, whole chunks of it. So you do what you can do. The workbook is beautiful for that. And so many people quit A Course in Miracles. They pick it up and they put it down because they feel they're not doing it right. Well, I'll tell you what, there's no wrong way to go about spiritual practice. I mean, even avoiding it completely isn't wrong. You're not harming any of us by doing that. So we all end up on the path. First of all, it's our destiny. It's scripted, so to speak. It's scripted, in a manner of speaking, for you to be watching this video. It's scripted for me to be speaking to you. And the beauty of an online forum like YouTube is right now, as I'm recording this, I don't know when you're going to be listening to this or watching me. Could be years from now. This is beautiful because it's my job to turn the camera and microphone on and teach. It's my job to reach you. I may never know you, and that's even more powerful because we actually do know each other. We're awakening to that fact, aren't we? So as always, with lesson 299, as with all of the workbook lessons, I invite you to carve some time out today, if you can. If you can, I know everybody's got a busy schedule. There are dozens of emails awaiting me. Life is like that. Social media awaits. I'm going to post something. What? I have no idea. Not a clue. But it will come to me. We all have things going on in our lives, but I want to invite you to seriously, if you can, carve even just a few minutes out a day to read the commentary here and to practice the workbook ideas. And if you're not sure what to do, ask for help. You can ask me for help, and you can ask your guide or guides. Now, if you're following A Course in Miracles and you've taken Jesus or the Holy Spirit, same thing, as your teacher, ask, right? Ask him. What do I do here? This is beautiful. It's getting out of your own way. It's how we enter the flow capital F, right? It's how we come to know who we really are, is we come back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago at the beginning of the video and lay our own expectations aside, lay our own drama, our own judgments, our own heightened and unrealistic, usually completely unrealistic expectations of how everything's going to go. Costs us a lot of stress and strain and effort, doesn't it, to try to control everything. Doesn't matter if you fancy yourself a control freak or not. That doesn't matter. And it certainly doesn't matter if other people may have labeled you such. When we're all attempting to interpose our own confused will for the will of God. And what we discover on the path is that the will of God is ours. It's the same. It wills itself to be known. In other words, direct experience. Directly experienced. So these are the things that we work on the spiritual path. It's about the direct experience. So if these ideas seem flawed to you, that's all right. I mean, you're here contemplating them. So I invite you to sit with them. Recite them, repeat them. Have them pop up in your stream of consciousness when you least expect it, and see how your day turns. Really. When these pop up, they change things. The miracle adjusts, right? It's just takes things away. It helps us to remove the baggage. Really, it doesn't remove anything. It just changes our mind. Everything falls away by itself. Why? Never existed in the first place. All right, so as usual, we've got multiple layers of ideas going on here. Again, these videos are designed for both beginners, people that are new to A Course in Miracles, and experienced students alike. So what you take away from this video is exactly what you're meant to take away from it. So be thankful, right? Give thanks. I invite you to give thanks for that, and we will see you on the next one.